I'm glad your mic is sounding a lot better than Dick's because I think we lost a lot of his reactions because whatever his connection problem was or
I don't know,
whatever.
man. You can't trust that guy with technology. Bad things happen when it's him and technology.
Oh, yeah. Just so you know, like me and the blackout trainer got really wet because we had to get really wet to be prepared for Wang.
Whoa,
Um,
whoa.
that's a segue because you know it's storming down here in the south.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I thought you were getting all aggressive on me here.
You
Oh
ready for this?
god.
I'm Blackjack,
I'm blackout,
and it's the Jacking Out Connection.
This world has been connected, tied to the darkness, soon to be completely eclipsed. There is so very much to learn.
What was the theme song? So today we have a very special guest. What was the theme song I was going to sing for you?
Let's go back to our funny theme song.
It's raining Wang. Hallelujah. It's raining Wang. Hey Wang. We are proud to introduce on this episode of the Jacking Out Connection the CEO, the big guns, the big shot, the boss of Fitocracy, Mr. Brian Xenowang Wang.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Those are our two non-silent listeners cheering you on.
Those are your testicles cheering on the Wang.
We can just go all night with the whole Wang jokes, man.
No, we had to get him out at the beginning.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I've had a lifetime of it, so.
Who gets the worst, do you think? You or Dick?
Oh, me for sure.
Yeah?
Me for Dude, he was the one. He voluntarily chose to use the nickname Dick. I mean, that tells you a lot, right? I didn't choose this name, so you grow up in elementary school and middle school, kids making fun of it, like, oh, that sounds funny. They'll say like Wang, Wangatang, and all the other variants of that name. So you grow tired but used to it really quickly.
Gotcha. Well, you got to have the guts and all that stuff, I guess.
Nah, these days I'm like, yeah, that's cool, whatever.
Like, yeah, I do have a Wang. Yeah. Brian, we should get this out of the way because you know what? Like, we've had Dick on the show, we've had Jared on the show. Like, you need to really assert your authority because I don't think people really understand what the heck a CEO does.
Whoa! People questioning my authority?
Okay. Yeah.
Your
authority. You need to stand authority.
So the question is, it's like, what do I do? It probably is helpful to talk about like the really quick history of what I did in the beginning and then kind of leading up to what I do now. So
please don't say anything.
What was that?
I did everything.
Well, I mean, it's kind of true, but I mean, like in the very start when it was just Dick and myself, we kind of split things up between he was working on the code and like the back end of Fitocracy, and I would do all the design, the front end HTML, CSS, like web dev stuff. We weren't doing any like marketing or whatever, so that wasn't really a function. It's just the two of us hacking together on the product in the beginning. And then as time went on, the team started to grow a little bit, slowly but surely. And then a lot of my time was still on like the web development, but it started going to the fundraising side of things. So when it came time for us to start doing like talking to investors and getting them to kind of believe in the company, believe in like the long-term vision of what we're trying to do, that was all on me. So fundraising started to become a really big part of what I was doing a year ago. It still is. You got to manage these guys who have put money into the company and,
Sure.
make sure they're always on board. They're your cheerleaders, but you got to make sure that you're kicking ass as well. And so today, we're 8 people now.
Wow.
And so my day-to-day right now is, now we've got a lot more folks who are here, like, ready to help build the product. So I don't really touch building the product as much, although even up to a month ago, I was still knee-deep in it. But nowadays, my job is, like, look, we got to make sure that the company is, like, a great place to work. It's, like, really open communication. People can get their ideas out, get their concerns out, and make sure like there are the processes in place where like shit gets done, basically, right? So that's a really, really important part of it. My job is basically like I remove roadblocks, right? Like I got to make sure that like anything that's hampering people like from doing their jobs and being happy about it, that's a lot of what I do. and then a lot of it is kind of like setting like the strategy, setting the kind of the vision of where the company's going, especially as we continue to go talk to investors. Like we'll probably go out to raise more money later, so like a lot of that's just, hey, how do you pitch this? How do you explain Fitocracy in like 30 seconds, or how do you explain it in an hour? Like those sorts of contexts are going to be really different. So just like preparing for all that is a huge part of what I do.
So pretty much you take all the stress and everyone gets to gain the benefit of all the hard work that you put in.
No, everyone's got a really important role in Fitocracy for sure.
No. I'm glad like you clarified that, because I mean, like, especially like the big money matter issues and like the negotiations, like really highlighting on that. Just so you know, listeners, because like we have this one question that keeps reoccurring, and I didn't know if it was okay to ask you, but this one question is, when is a Fitocracy coming out on the Android?
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised at all by that question. So I put out a blog post about this, I guess a month ago or so, and it was basically an explanation for why we didn't have an Android app yet, why we chose to go with iPhone first, and it also, shed a little bit of light into the Android development process in general. Like, why does it usually take longer? Why do most companies go with iPhone first? So the long and short is, we are planning on doing it, and I know people are sick of hearing that, right? We are planning on doing it. My hope is that we get the ball rolling on it, like actually start laying down designs and code for it, like within the next 2 months. And then once that starts happening, then now things are actually going to start to materialize. Like if I'm being super conservative, probably won't come out until like sometime early next year. So that's kind of like the truth of the matter. But like we know it's super important. We know that half of our users are on Android, and we're absolutely not ignoring them. It's just it's important to understand the reality of like when you've got like a really strict budget, you've got a limited amount of time and resources. You've got to be careful about where you're placing your bets. Because the other thing to remember is that, like, one, you're going to be pulling one of these guys off of other stuff just to work on Android. We know Android's important, but the second thing is now you got to handle web, iPhone, and Android. So that's 3 times the complexity, 3 times the bugs, 3 times the amount of users you got to handle. So it's, I mean, we're all trying to get there. It's just you gotta pace yourself.
Yeah. And I was gonna say I think that's a great like recognition from you, is that luckily you don't let all your other things that have worked for you go to crap while you focus on something else that's in the future. So, I mean, that's like mad props, because even though, the pressure's out there, and I mean, I'm an Android user, but I also understand the fact that you got a business to run as far as the website and stuff like that. So, I mean, way to keep focus and driving that the main goal home of expanding Fitocracy.
One of the things I've learned is the things that you choose not to do are just as important as the things that you do choose to do. So it's really like you said it right there. You got to have focus, and you got to time it right.
Awesome. Brian, you are a stand-up guy. Like, I think a lot of users were trying to troll you with that question, but look at you. You spout off the little 5-minute spiel right there. Take the question to heart. Really answer it. To detract from Fitocracy just a little bit, I know Fitocracy is your baby, and it's going to naturally come up in this conversation. We're actually like really excited to have you on the show, because maybe out of all the Fitocracy staff, like, you're probably the quote unquote least well known. Like I put out this metaphor last time with Dick. I really look at you guys, you and Dick, as kind of me and BT from alternate reality with 50% more Asian. And if Dick would be the alternate reality BT, I would really think that I liken yourself to myself, where we're more in the shadows, where our presence is less known. Working in the shadows. A lot of people are like, how come there's not pictures of Wang in a Speedo on Fitocracy? And, Dick mentioned on his podcast that both of you guys came from the background of being chubby gamer dudes, and like there's no pictures of you floating around on the internet. Can you kind of expand on that? Were you a chubby dude, or is he just talking crap on you?
I was a pretty chubby kid growing up, not as I guess not as overweight as Dick was as a kid.
Yeah, take that.
For real, like I was chubby, but I wasn't like obese or anything or whatever. But Yeah, so I kind of like went through this phase where I guess going into middle school, I got skinnier because I was trying to like get like I was trying to get thinner, right? I was sick of being like the chubby kid, but ultimately they just meant I was skinny fat, right? So that's the worst. Uh, so
Yes.
I was a kind of skinny fat throughout high school, and then senior year of high school is when I started getting into weightlifting. I discovered like these bodybuilding forums. I would hang out on bodybuilding.com and start lifting with my buddies at high school. And so that was one of the things where hey, the moment I got bit by the bug is all I could think about. And then going into college, going to Penn, that's where Dick and I met, and we became really good friends from that. To answer your question about like why aren't there more photos of me out there, I'm being completely honest here. Like Dick is just much more physically impressive than me. He is. He's bigger. He's got more muscle. I'm not huge by any means, right? And so I mean, it's one of those things where I totally recognize that I probably don't put as much strict effort into it as I really need to. It's kind of one of those things where I was just talking about this with someone else earlier today. Like whether you're doing a bulking or you're cutting, I feel like I would like cut myself way too short, like on either end all the time, right? Like if I'm bulking up, I'm like, oh man, I know I could get a lot stronger over the next couple months, but I get paranoid. Oh man, I'm getting too fat, right? Or like I'm cutting, and I'm like, oh man, I know I'm getting really lean, but I'm getting super skinny. I look like I don't even lift now, so like I can't stand this. I look so skinny. Like people don't even think I work out. And so I would cut myself short, even though I know that if I just went on for like a few more weeks, I would drop like 2 points more in my body fat or whatever. But I mean, that being said, it's still super important for me. Like past few years, I've just been focused a lot more on like raw strength, not like I'm not competing in any powerlifting competitions or anything like that, but it is what it is. And then in terms of like just drawing attention or whatever, I mean, Jared is super active in the community.
Sure.
That's a huge part of his job. He's got to understand what people are saying. He's got to be really in touch with that because he owns the product, right? He's responsible for making sure the product is serving the user's needs. So that's super important. And with Dick, he's like more plugged in with like the fitness community. He'll share a bunch of stuff. He'll like go and train people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all great, and I'm more than happy to let them do that. For me, I've got my own thing, and it's try to keep the lights on. That's pretty. Cute.
Yeah, I was about to say your visibility is probably more on the business side of things. To like you're saying, the investors and just to people like the startups and the things we've seen, the different forms you've taken over to promote the product. Whereas us, the users and whatnot, the public, we'll see, like you said, Jared, and we'll see Dick more often, just because of what areas they touch as opposed to yourself. This is just what it sounds like.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of miss it. Like a year ago, we were a lot smaller, and when it was just me and Dick and Daniel, I would be going to respond to every single email that ever hit my inbox. I would go on all day and respond to every post that I could. And one of the things I really lament is sometimes people will post a bunch of stuff on the forums and it doesn't go answered, and I feel really bad. And people say like, well, why doesn't Fitocracy care about us? It seems like the devs are just ignoring us or whatever. Like, why don't they care? And it's really not that. It's just like we've got so many things going on. If I could answer and respond to every single post, I really could. I really would, but it's just not a possibility. So it kind of in that regard.
Well, I think it's kind of I think that falls more to the community though in the long run. Is you set it up and the devs and whatnot in a forum will kind of attack that when the community's small, but with as large and diverse as the community is now, it kind of should fall more to our side, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like getting the right people in there to moderate it, So like, if you just like get people to be like, hey, let's just keep things clean. Let's like Jen, for example, right? She's amazing at that. Right. We need 10 more of her, to help out with that sort of thing. So
10,000 gens.
Isn't that an Asian currency?
It is. Anyway, bottom line is, I think that you guys should make Fitocracy shirts that say on the front, "So much dick and cock," and on the back it says, "Not enough Wang." Rewinding a little bit, Brian, was there anything in particular that sparked that interest in starting to work out? You said you were bitten by the bug. I didn't know if there was like you were at the beach and like you were with this girl and then a big dude kicked sand in your face and you're like, oh damn, I need to lift weights or.
Probably summer before my senior year of high school, I saw a couple of my friends. Every single day that we hang out, we just came back from the gym, and I'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. I would be a little bit like jealous, like, oh, they're going and lifting and like they're like working out. That's it's not something I had experienced before. But I think even then, like I started messing around with it. Like I had an adjustable dumbbell set at home that I would start doing like arm exercises because all guys start off with arm exercises.
That's right.
Wanted to get into that, so I was like, oh, I should just join one, and so. I started going at it, and then you kind of come to that natural moment where you start Googling, like, oh, how do I get stronger? How do I get bigger or whatever? So that's when I made my way into these forums and started exploring, like, oh, here, like, you're getting started guides. Like, here's what all these other people are doing, and they're making these huge, awesome transformations. And so for me, I was like, well, I got a lot of time. This is high school. This is summer. I'm not working, so I got time to go. I might as well just, like, go after it.
What a productive high school kid ethic.
All I was caring about at that point was, I was definitely looking to the college applications in the fall and all that sort of thing. But otherwise, I was
what a productive high school kid.
Yeah, I was about to say, looking into college senior year, summer.
Man.
Wasn't even worried about it.
Your parents make you do that shit.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mom.
But yeah, I mean, that was kind of, that was also a period of my life where the moment I join a forum, like, I will be obsessed with that forum. I will, like, post all day. I will, like, spend hours on there. So that definitely helped a lot, too. Like, just, like, being a part of an online community was huge in that.
What other online communities were you a part of before that?
So one of the ones I was really into was a music, it was a personal forum for a drummer of one of my favorite bands at the time, called Dream Theater. I was like super into this guy, like the band's music. So there was a really active community at this drummer's forum. I used to be all the time. I haven't visited in a couple of years now. Same thing for guitar. I was like super into guitar in high school. So the guitarist for Dream Theater at that forum all the time. And then I was really into this one like small community back in the day called, it's like so obscure, it's called Planet Plastica. It was like it was just some random message board that like where a bunch of guys would talk about like video games and anime and movies and stuff like that. So I was big into video games and anime at the time, so that I would go there and talk a lot about that. So yeah, those were kind of probably the big ones.
Nice. And like moving on from high school to college, you said that's where you met Dick. Like, was it because you were getting this interest in working out now, and you just caught Dick at the gym, or like how exactly did that friendship form?
And was it love at first sight?
It was.
You got a Dick, I got a Wang.
That didn't dawn on us until.
It dawned on you at the time. What?
Man, you guys are good.
This is all we've thought of all day.
We had to practice hard for this. Hard.
So I remember this distinctly. It was my freshman year. I was going to dinner with one of my hallmates freshman year, and I was. He introduced me like to Dick. Like he already known him. He was like, "Hey, you should meet. You guys should meet each other." And we didn't like really know. This is kind of like the first couple of weeks when you're getting to know people.
Right.
And I noticed that, hey, Dick's plate is just full of tuna and broccoli. I know what this guy's all about, right? I think he was literally shoving tuna into a plastic bag so he could bring it back to his room. Like, okay, this guy speaks my language. So, just pretty quickly we recognized we were both in the whole, like, eat 6 meals a day, get all your protein, you lift. There's a bodybuilding split and all that other stuff. So, we kind of we started just talking the same language the moment we met, and then we started training together at the gym because you get the moment. It's like, hey, I don't have anyone to work out with. Like, we should go lift together. So so that happened, and so we would train a bit, and then I remember I was like, yo, why don't we do Mr. Penn, which is like UPenn's like annual bodybuilding contest? Because I like our gym like advertised it every year. I thought it was really cool and unique that like the school had it at all.
Yeah, because I don't think our college had that, did
They
it?
didn't.
Yeah.
The closest thing they have is like the
The boxing
Greek
thing?
god.
Oh, right.
Thing.
Okay.
And so that was, like, I thought that was really cool. And then it was kind of a crazy idea at the time, but I was like, hell, why not? So I remember we started prepping for that. We were aiming for like the fall of our junior year, so we started like prepping for that like latter half of sophomore year, going into summer. So we had it all planned out. Like, here's what our diet's going to be. Like, we're going to go through this whole thing and like take 16 weeks and all that other shit. Um, um, and yeah, so that was, I mean, honestly, that was like a pretty powerful bonding experience because it was hard. You kind of struggle through that. You're doing this thing for the first time, like hardcore dieting. You don't know what you're doing a lot of the time, and so that definitely helped cement things with us too.
Awesome.
Definitely. Now, did you compete in that same event as Dick? Because I haven't seen any pictures.
Honestly, I was super skinny there. Like I feel like I lost a ton of muscle going into that.
Oh,
Honestly,
really?
Yeah.
But you did end up competing.
I did.
Oh,
But
awesome.
I didn't really look that good. It was weird. Like I was not that lean, which kind of sucked. Like my abs were not that visible. It was weird. Like a week before the show, I was a lot leaner than I came in. Like I started messing with sodium and water.
Okay.
Man, that spillover rapes people too. If you haven't done it before, it's terrible. It's hard. It's not terrible, but it's
You get thirsty.
it's hard. It's hard to get that sodium water mix right if you do actually mess with it. So, but that's awesome that you did it. I had no clue that you'd even obviously Dick. You see the picture, so you know he'd done something.
Did you have like what did you wear at that one?
That was yeah. Black.
Nothing.
Black? All right, good. They always say black's the easiest color, the best color to wear, just because you don't get all your tan on it.
Yeah.
Smart.
Nice. So like, was it like during this prep for this competition that the ideas, the seed for Fitocracy started coming into place, or can you think back to when like you guys started like coming up with that idea?
I could definitely trace it back to it. By the way, I want to get this part in because there actually is a video of us competing.
Oh, where?
Link this.
I will think about linking to it at some point. So you can see how we turned out. Honestly, I kind of looked like crap. My back looked okay. My quads looked okay, but it seemed like those were really good at getting lean, but everything else kind of sucked. But I'll link to it if I'm feeling generous.
Okay.
For Fitocracy, I see you cross. So Fitocracy, like how we got into starting it in the first place. I remember this was like late 2009. I was just starting to think about startups. I was just starting to think about like the whole entrepreneurial thing. I wasn't really happy working at the jobs that I was at after school. I was in Connecticut at the time. I wasn't a fan of that, and so I just like went to Dick on. I was like, I am him. I was like, hey, dude, what do you think of this crazy idea of starting a company with me sometime next year? I didn't know what he was going to say, but he was like, yeah, like that'd be awesome. Like, whatever it is that we'd be working on, like, I think that'd be really cool. And so I just kind of planted that seed. And so, we started thinking about different ideas. We would just run through all these different like wacky stuff, right? Most of them were crap, but I remember like, the one thing that we were really set on for a while was completely like unrelated to what we're doing now, which was like, it was supposed to be this like gift recommendation service called Gifty. The entire idea was like, oh man, I have no idea what to give my girlfriend for Valentine's Day. My birthday or whatever. It really sucks thinking about like a gift that isn't like corny or like really, really like cookie cutter, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea was like, hey, what if we could like go and create a service that would recommend the perfect gift for that particular occasion for someone that you're looking for, and we'll base that off like some questions that you're answering, like some social data, whatever. And so we were like super gung ho about this idea. we were like talking about it, and then I don't know, we were kind of lukewarm at times. We weren't really sure if we were really, really into like dedicating our lives to this sort of thing. And I remember the summer of 2010, there was like an announcement between like a partnership between Facebook and Amazon. It's like, hey, Amazon's going to actually have a gift recommendation service powered by. I was like, well, game over. I mean, there's like no chance in hell we're ever going to build something that was remotely as useful as that. And we hadn't even really started coding the thing. So we're like, okay, well, we weren't like super gung-ho about it anyways. We were more gung-ho about the idea of doing a startup. So we'll scrap that. And so we got back to square one. This was like, this was like July of 2010. And so I remember, I was down at Dick's apartment in DC in August of 2010. And we're hanging out, we're catching up, and we're just thinking like, what do we do? And we just went back to this idea of like health and fitness. Like we knew that health and fitness was a vertical that we were really passionate about. We were really, really hesitant because we thought that it was super crowded. We were like, well, there's a lot of services out there. Like, how are we going to get attention? Like, how are we going to like make ourselves stand out? But at some point we're just like, screw it, man. Like all the other guys out there, they're just like really boring. And why don't we just do something really interesting in this space? And so, Dick was just like, well, I used to be super into all these RPGs, and I know you were into that as well. Like, what I always thought it'd be really cool if you could build something that made it like you were leveling up in real life. Like, what if you could make it like a real life RPG where you get XP for tracking your workout, and you get to level 2, level 3, level 4, and you're fighting bosses along the way, and you just like the sky's the limit there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that would be really, really cool. And there was something to that idea. So that was like, we're like, yeah, let's do this fitness thing. Let's build something that is going to be useful but makes fitness addictive. And then let's see if it works. And so we kind of set our game plan where we're like, okay, here's when we're going to quit our jobs. We're going to move into New York and Brooklyn.
Oh dang.
And just kind of go whole hog on it. And so, so in the fall of 2010, we basically went part-time with our employers. We're like, hey, look, we're going to quit by the end of the year, but, we're just going to roll off like part-time from now. So that helped pay the bills for like the latter half of 2010. By that point, we had moved already to Brooklyn, and we just started working on it, and I guess the rest is history.
You know what, like, that's so funny that you mentioned that Amazon thing. Like, I don't know if I'm going to leave this in the podcast, but I want to tell you, Brian, it's so funny because, the original reason, like how we got attracted and how we came to know Fitocracy in the first place, me and BT, was because when I was in Japan, I had this idea to like come up with like a language point system, kind of like getting experience points learning a language because I was picking up Japanese. And at that time, me and BT were getting a lot into fitness, and we had the idea of transferring that point system into like doing workouts and stuff. And we were like talking about like we were getting some ideas. And then I was talking with a friend, and he's like, oh, you mean like Fitocracy? and we're like, damn it. But like honestly, like what we mentioned like that invite story to Dick, but like once we got in, and like I mean how much Fitocracy has grown like this past year, this is like above and beyond like anything that we imagined at that point, and we did not know how the hell to code crap, It's like, how the hell do we make an app?
Well, you and me both, man. I feel really lucky that we've gotten this far. And it's because of people like you, man. Honestly, that sounds cheesy, but it's true. Like the people that we have to thank for helping us get this far is the community. That's what's been driving us from day one, even when we didn't realize it at first. But that's really what it's all about. So I should be thanking you guys because you guys are the ones who make Fitocracy what it is.
Awesome. Brofist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along those lines, Brian, like I want to ask you this, like, you don't have to give away all your secrets or whatever, but from that idea to the reality now, can you kind of go explain a little bit about that, like, startup? Because like I said, we had ideas, but we didn't know what the hell to do. Like, was it just a matter of like, oh, I need to secure funds and then find like an engineer and programmer, or what exactly did you have to do in those early stages?
So the summary is that we figured it all out kind of as we went along, right? Like it's easy to say, oh yeah, like we have it all planned out, but there was nothing of the sort. We just had no clue. We were just kind of like fumbling around, like, and just things like developed, and you just react to them. I feel like that's how a lot of startups operate. Quite honestly, like you make things happen, you react to them, you find opportunities, you go after them. There's actually this I think there's a saying out there, this concept of like maximizing like your luck surface area. Yeah, I mean the entire idea is like if you can maximize the number of opportunities that will ever come across your way, like you're much more likely to succeed because you're going to find like those big breaks. You're going to find those things that are going to make things happen. So
I think that's called like the numbers game in dating, right?
Exactly, like the other way to say it. It's like you got to maximize like your chances, and you just need to make a lot of bets. So, I mean, the way we evolved, like we started out with two guys in the apartment. We were just like building a really crappy alpha version of it together. Like we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were learning a ton of this stuff as we went along. Honestly, I mean, we started off like we knew how to code and we knew like how to do the basics, but we weren't seasoned vets. We weren't like guys who had done this before, right?
Right.
Our initial version was super, super crappy, but whatever. We had a working thing and we wanted to test it out. Like the biggest moment, like at that period, was when I like wrote this really long-winded post on Reddit about like what Fitocracy was all about, and you guys should try it out. Here's a limited number of invites. And honestly, like 90% of that post was like what we wanted Fitocracy to be. It wasn't what Fitocracy was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was received really, really well, and I guess the lesson there was if you can communicate a big idea and a big vision like passionately and get people to emotionally invest in that, then that's worth its weight in gold, right? Like I'm a really staunch believer that ideas are a dime a dozen, which is true. Like ideas are a dime a dozen. It's really about the execution, but like the presentation of a concept is really, really important. Probably more so than the idea itself. So, that helped a ton. We got a few hundred users from that. We got a ton of great feedback. So the other lesson there was listen to what people are saying. Like really, like just get opinions, get people to react to something. Like it's all about like doing something, getting a reaction to that and responding. It's a feedback loop, right? So like
comments are great.
Hint, hint, listeners.
Yeah.
These damn comments.
You got to signal and respond to it. So we just like took all that feedback and tried to figure out like what was it that people liked about this idea and what did they want to see. So we just built features based on that. And 2011 was a really, really interesting year. Daniel came on board. Actually, he discovered us through Reddit. We would never have met Daniel if it wasn't through Reddit. So he was based out of Texas. He was a chemical engineer. He knew how to program. He had these really great ideas about what Fitocracy could be. So he just started emailing us all these different, like, it wasn't just like a one-liner, It wasn't like some guys like, oh, I think it'd be really cool if you did this. He would take it like 10 steps further. He would just like, I think it would be really cool if you had XYZ feature, and here's a huge deal. And then he would write like 3 paragraphs about it. We were like, this guy's like really thinking hard about this. We eventually made the decision to bring him on board. Like he was like flat out like, I want to join you guys. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions we could have ever made. So, that brought us 3 people. At a certain point, we were just running off savings, and we're just like, we should start thinking about raising investor money. And so that was just the whole process, which that almost deserves its own separate session. But that.
Well then, yeah, because I'd actually like to hear about that. For sure.
Talk about that more at length and
yeah.
Yeah, you'll be back on here again now that we finally secured you. So,
it's you have to manage this really, really difficult and stressful process that you've got no idea what you're doing, and so I learned a lot of lessons from that, and then and going into where we are now, I think it's continuing to do what we've always done, which is listen to the community, listen to the feedback, and it's not just the comments, it's not just the emails and the conversations; those are always super important. But also looking at the numbers, like, hey, like why are like X% of these users not coming back? like what are they not doing versus what are the people who are still here, like what did they do in the beginning that like we can point to and correlate with like, oh, this is why they're still active. So those are like things that we would pay really close attention to, and you mix that and with a kind of a sense of like how what's like the long term of this product and where can it go. That's what like we've spent a lot of time on in the past few months, and like ultimately you're on a mission, right? You got to figure out like at the end of the day, is this going to help people succeed? That's what we're here for. Like, is photography generally going to help people succeed at their fitness, and is it something that pretty much anyone can use, right? And I think that's one of the things that we've really started to focus on is, like how can we get someone who's never worked out a day in their life to just start making those steps, and I think we catch a little bit of flack from that. Like, we get some flack from the more serious guys who are like, oh, well, why aren't you focusing on features that are really about making the tracking a lot more sophisticated? And it's not to say that we don't want to improve that as well, but you really got to think about, like, how are you going to help society, right? Like, how are you going to help people who are like 5 steps away from everything about tracking a workout? Like, these guys don't know what the hell, like, a barbell bench press is or what a calorie. So, like, how do you touch those guys, right? So that's a lot of what we're thinking about, which is why, you see a lot more features on the social side, the community side. So that, our heads are on that, but that's, we're totally not ignoring the tracking stuff.
Gotcha. We always say one of the biggest strengths of the Fitocracy is the community. So yeah, you definitely want to pump out stuff that keeps boosting that. So makes sense. Along the lines of taking it from the idea to the reality, Brian, I like in the last episode, Dick talked about how it was such a proud moment to see the was it XKCD comic, like because he said around that time it was like a really dark period for him. I actually had a question from my mom who wanted to know, with as stressful as it is being a CEO and like all the stuff you got to juggle, and when you see all your struggles, how do you motivate yourself to keep pushing forward? How do you not falter when you're hitting all those walls that might come?
That's a great question. I mean,
thanks, Mom.
A lot of it comes down to thinking about your purpose, right? It's like what is the purpose or the mission that you're on with Fitocracy? I think more and more there has been this genuine belief that Fitocracy as a company, its very existence is important to the world, and that sounds really like arrogant, but I don't mean it to be. Like, honestly, we're here because we genuinely believe that a lot of things are broken, and like society needs a solution to help improve people's health and fitness at large, right? And so even if stuff is getting really, really dark, even if there are stressful moments, even if things are looking bleak, yeah, ultimately you have to go back and think, like, what are we here for? Like, are people counting on us to help improve their lives? Like, not only the people who are on the platform right now, but the people who haven't even, gotten to experience Fitocracy yet, right? Like if anything, we owe it to them. Like, we need to continue on and do the best job that we can so that we can make an impact on as many people's lives as possible. So that's one of the big things that's really important. Like, it's, you get up in the morning and I'm just eternally grateful to be able to work on something that I think is really meaningful, because a lot of companies out there will work on like getting you to click on an ad more often, getting you to like play games more often, getting you to waste a lot of time. But like, we're talking about people's health here, right? We're talking about like empowering people to improve themselves. And I think there's very few things that are more noble than that. And so I'm just eternally grateful for that.
To me, like, that just sounds like you got a lot of drive, and you got to keep having drive to do that, because I think other people would hear this exact explanation that you're giving right now, and that just sounds like putting more pressure on yourself, no?
I mean, it's daunting for sure, and you come to grow into that, I guess, like in the beginning when no one knows who you are, it's not that big a deal because, let's say you failed, it's okay. No one really heard about you anyway. So it's not like you made a big bang or whatever. But like as time goes on, as the product grows and the users grow and the company grows, it becomes more and more pressure for sure. but the thing that really helps is just that satisfaction that I guess in the belief that you are helping people, and it's just really important to continue on that mission. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stresses to it, but it just being really mission driven, I think, is key.
Yeah, yeah, and now that y'all have had plenty of time with users and whatnot, it's not even a belief anymore that you're helping people. You have physical evidence with, I mean, plenty of people posting, photos and stories of how Fitocracy has changed their life and whatnot. So, definitely, hopefully you see that and see the big changes that you guys helped made in those people, and I'm sure there's tons of other people out there that are silent about, the help that Fitocracy has offered them. So.
You know, look at these very personal stories. Like people will send them through email, or they'll post it on Facebook or what have you. And just I don't know, just the knowledge that we helped at least one other soul on this planet like really improve their lives. Um, it's really meaningful. It can make your day, it can make your week. Just being like it's a very experience, but just the fact that something that you built is improving someone's life is really awesome.
For sure. We got a fan question from user Riora. She was wondering if/when things get overwhelming, do you ever compromise your training or opt for fast foods, or do you sacrifice your diet when you're doing all this stuff?
I mean, occasionally. I mean, I think I don't think anyone would ever fault me for that. Like,
Everybody faults you. You lost all your followers.
zero.
All your followers came to me.
Yes.
I remember when we rolled out the site redesign a couple weeks ago. I mean, like, yeah, we were up like almost all night. I remember I got home that night at 7. Well, that morning I got home at 7 a.m. So it was kind of like one of those things where like we were rolling stuff out, and hey, it's 4 a.m. Let's see what's open. Oh, pizza place. Okay, let's order 3 pizzas. Whatever. Like, it happens. I don't feel bad about it. I don't let myself feel bad about it.
You just eat another pizza.
It's Vulcan season.
Yes.
95% of the time, my diet's really great, so I don't stress myself out about it.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, it's good to be confident about what you're doing, and it's good you don't let it be like a mental barrier too. Like if you do, like exactly that example right there, it's like 4 a.m. You're obviously hungry, working all night, and instead of not going and like eating and like keep going, you're like, oh no, I gotta stay on my diet. Let me have a salad and just get like grumpy,
Yeah.
like in the morning. Yeah, that takes some mental strength, for sure. So.
We want to pose this to you, Brian. Do you have any idea of like something you would call your top 3 proudest moments on building Fitocracy so far? You're not allowed to repeat any of Dick's answers.
One of the things that immediately comes to mind was the iPhone launch.
Uh,
I thought that was, we were all looking forward to it. We were all really nervous about how that would go. But just the enormous amount of positivity and the enthusiastic response to it was really great. Just seeing like the product that had very, very humble beginnings go and become this great, well-designed experience on the iPhone, and get all these rave reviews and get a lot of attention was really awesome. So I was really excited about that. What else? I guess watching this isn't like a particular moment. It's more about like a process, but just being able to watch like the people around me in the company also grow into kind of where they are now. It's been really great. Like watching Dick grow as a co-founder and as a partner, and just feel like
how big did he grow?
realize that. Okay, mature
And seen.
Daniel as well. And just like having these humble beginnings, and then turning into something that's just far greater than what we could have expected, and just looking back on that has been great. I think everyone on the team has come a long way, and that's really important. So it's just gratifying to be a part of that, and every little thing that I can do to help that process, I'm always trying to do. And I guess you know I'm kind of blanking on the third one, quite honestly.
Being on the Jack and How connection.
Yes, being the Jack and connection is it's really I'm peaking now, so like
Oh, yeah.
I should know at this point.
Let's see time. Oh yes, we made him peak quicker than Dick. Good.
Well, we're just gonna edit this, and like your top 3 moments are all gonna be being on the Jack and How connection.
That's fine with me, man. I guess one thing is just like hearing people from school and other parts of my life or other times of my life just be like, hey, I've heard a lot about what's going on with Fitocracy. It sounds like it's really going well. It happens every so often, and it's just kind of cool to hear that. Just the fact that people out there in real life are just hearing about what you're doing, and it's kind of the message is spreading out there. It's a great feeling just getting to know that you're getting to touch people's lives.
You must run into like a lot of bad women now, though. You're so successful now.
Remember, this is the guy who's keeping a low profile.
Oh yeah, that's right. No worries. Moving along. Yeah, that covers like the big chunk of like the Fitocracy stuff. Should we move on to fan questions? Or do you got something, BT?
Let's go ahead and start taking a couple of these down, because we actually had, at first we didn't have that many, and then we finally just simply posted and had a lot of people respond with the questions they had. Several of them funny, but there were some serious few in here. We'll take the funny ones at the end in kind of a rapid fire section, but let's just take Alex's question. He would like to know kind of where do you draw your inspiration from?
Where do I draw my inspiration? That's a really good question. And I feel like I'm just like so heads down on stuff these days. It's like really hard to think about what else I do. A lot of it comes down to seeing like other companies out there and other founders kind of, now that I'm in those same shoes and looking at all this, experiencing all the struggles that go into starting a company and trying to grow it, and then you look back to the guys who have kind of quote unquote made it, the ones who have been a success. It's you can really relate and understand like, wow, like this is not easy at all. Like this is just there are just so many obstacles, failures along the way. Just to see people succeed at the end is always an inspiration to me. And I can't really name a particular person right at the moment, but I mean, just look at any startup that has done well. That they had to deal with all the challenges you could ever possibly imagine. And so just like looking towards those stories is always a really great feeling, because that those people went through really dark moments. It wasn't all like the fanfare. It wasn't all the celebrity that kind of surrounds them now, because everyone, wow, well, this company was an overnight success or whatever. But there's no such thing as an overnight success. That guys probably had some really, really dark moments when they thought like the company was going to fail or had to lay off half their staff or whatever it was. So just understanding that there are people out there who've been through the same thing and made it is kind of a really strong thing to draw on.
Definitely. Do you have a fitness inspiration, like a bodybuilder that's your favorite, or some powerlifter or something that you can kind of go watch a video to get pumped for before a workout?
Named Blackout Trainer. I keep seeing these guys and these girls with these bandanas over their mouths. I'm like, are these guys something? But honestly, I would say if it came to a bodybuilder that kind of I draw a lot of inspiration from, or just like gets me pumped up in general. This is not unique at all, but I think I just gotta hand it to Arnold, man. I like. There was a video that was posted on Reddit like a week ago or so. That was like this. It was just like a series of clips of Arnold in like different movies and like different contexts, and it was just a speech that Arnold had delivered at some point with that was the kind of the audio track, and it was just really inspirational. He talked about his struggles coming to America from Austria. Trying to first do bodybuilding and proving all the naysayers wrong, and then breaking into acting and then going into politics. And I mean, people give him a lot of crap, but I don't, I like that man is a legend, right? Like he, just like the stuff that he went through and the stuff he had to overcome, which is incredible. And so for me, like that just seemed like, damn, that's the American dream, man. He just, he went in and he just put in an enormous amount of work, and he reaped the rewards. And he had lots of obstacles along the way. I definitely Arnold would be a figure that I would look up to for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I love that video. I think you're even talking about where he's talking about that you'll never make it because of your Austrian accent, and then how his Austrian accent is like some of the most famous phrases in movie history. And he's like, if I didn't have the dumb Austrian accent, I wouldn't have, the "I'll be back" and those different phrases wouldn't be as meaningful and memorable. I'm coming. I knew that's what you're thinking of. Sorry, I'm coming day and night. But yeah, I think even though it is cliche and Arnold is probably the most used, he is one of the most to draw inspiration from, just because of where he started and who he's become and who he is. So
all kinds of inspiration, man.
All kinds of inspiration. Do you want to hit that one?
Our next question, Brian, comes from Mike Silver. Mike Silver. Okay. What apps or programs do you find the most useful for organizing your day-to-day life? Or are you even organized at all, winky face?
I don't know what you're trying to insinuate there. So I guess the top apps I like to use, or services or whatever. One, I live inside my inbox all day, which is kind of scary. Ultimately, what your inbox turns into is a to-do list. So any email that comes in is like, oh, great, I gotta do this XYZ now. So that's one thing. I make liberal use of Gmail labels. You got to organize stuff in folders, making sure that stuff is in its right place. One of my favorite services out there is Workflowy. It's workflowy.com. Is it .net? I can't remember, but it's a really great service where like you just take notes, you just like create outlines essentially, and it's just super easy to like create bullet point lists of anything in the world, and you just like dump a whole bunch of text in there at once, and it's really, really useful for taking kind of structured information and pouring it in one place. And the one thing that we use a lot internally for our projects is a service called Trello, Trello.
I think you said Cholo there for a second. I was like, you like ride a lowrider around?
Trello, and that's useful because it kind of gives you a really nice visual overview of all the stuff that you're working on in the organization, what they're working on. And so those are definitely like a lot of the go-tos. And my calendar, of course, like anything that I got to do and that's coming up, I immediately place in my calendar.
Okay, so this one's a more fun question for everybody because food is always on top of the mind. What is your favorite meal to cheat with? Or if you're in Dick's case and maybe you do the same thing, what does your day of cheating look like?
This question comes from Pumpy.
Pumpy, yes.
Well, I used to partake in those epic cheat days with Dick a while. That was fun. We would just like basically eat anything under the sun. I would get like cheeseburgers, and chips, and cookies, and all this random. It was horrible. But these days, if I feel like I'm gonna go, either like I'll go to like all you can eat sushi is always a favorite. Like sometimes it'll be like all you can eat barbecue, which is always fun. At least you're getting lots of protein there. But
nice.
Other stuff. Those would probably be the two go-to things. But I'm definitely a huge fan of sushi, so I'm never going to turn that down ever.
Have you heard of the Fitocracy cruise at all?
The cruise? No, this is news to me.
Okay, there's a group that's Fitocracy Cruise, so you might want to go check it out. A bunch of people are talking about taking a cruise next year.
And they do want you, but apparently they didn't want you enough to actually invite you where you knew.
Oh, that hurts deep, man.
Well, they say they want you. It's all on them, but now you know.
Yeah.
And knowing's half the battle.
Let's see. Ingers actually wanted to know... what's your favorite meal to eat after a workout or drink? I guess maybe.
Well, these days it's nothing special, and I don't know anything with a crap ton of carbs and protein. So chicken and rice, like if you've never had chicken and rice in New York, you got to do that because it's amazing.
Well, then we'll make sure we go out with you when we're in New York for some chicken and rice.
As long as you can spot us.
And it's all on me.
And we're talking about squats.
I mean, every context I'll spot you. Don't worry.
Awesome.
Of course, sushi's a big one. Of course. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing that exciting, honestly. Sorry, Ingers, but we can break when I talk to you in person.
So pretty much, Angers, your question was terrible.
That was horrible.
This one comes from user Jessica. She spells S with a 3. She says, I would love to know how similar or different Fitocracy looks today than the way you envisioned it when you started it. Are there things users have really latched onto that you didn't think they would?
That's a really good question, actually. Yeah, I think the big surprise to us, for us, was how important the community was to the product and its evolution. Because in the beginning, we were all about we were really thinking about, hey, how can we get all of these game mechanics in here? Like, how do we get the idea of boss battles in here? How do we get the idea of level caps? Like, how do we make sure that you gotta hit a certain milestone before we get to the next level? And I remember we're talking loot and virtual goods, and we're talking the whole 9 yards, just one step away from having avatars and maps and game worlds and stuff like that. So I think that was all that we were thinking about at the time. We didn't really realize, or we didn't anticipate that it was going to be about people making these kind of real life connections, and people meeting in real life. And I mean, I've heard of stories of people actually finding boyfriends and girlfriends on Fitocracy too. I never would have expected that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, hang on a second. Just say that part again. Who found who on Fitocracy?
He went out on that, but it has happened for sure. So I mean, that's interesting because it's just taken a life of its own. The community has just kind of taken it where it wants to go, which is really cool. But we totally weren't expecting that in the beginning.
Does this one seem good right here?
Yeah. No, it's a little too heavy.
Okay,
let's go. Do you want to go with the rapid fires?
Okay,
yeah.
Users, we appreciate your questions and we're gonna include them. We're not gonna be able to give credit to all these people, but Brian, just off the top of your head, what is your reaction to these questions? All right. So first one: smooth or chunky?
Smooth.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers.
Would you rather have a horn or lobster claws?
Horn, man.
Are you natty?
Yes.
What is a superhero alias? Who would you be?
Jesus. What, Xenowang's not good enough for you?
Okay, actual superhero. Who would you be?
Oh, man. Well, I've always had a soft spot for Spidey.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Fruit on bottom or stirred?
Definitely stirred.
Okay. And
The ultimate one right here.
The ultimate one that had the most votes.
Would you like to be chased by 10 duck-sized tigers or 1 tiger-sized duck?
10 duck-sized tigers or 1
tiger-sized duck.
Oh God! Oh my God! That sounds horrifying either way. I guess the 10 duck-sized tigers.
I think that's a good call. I think they're like kitty cats.
Yeah, you can kick them. We don't condone the kicking of cats, but
really, really scary.
Yeah, Jen, please don't hate us. We love cats.
I have cats.
I swear you have allergies to cats too.
I guess as things are winding down, just a couple more points. Brian, we want to give you the opportunity. We want to hear how your Muscle Twins impression sounds. Let's see if you can beat out Dick.
Fuck out the way! Fuck out the way!
Can you give us the full intro?
Oh God, I don't. How's it go? There's a lot of sniffling. I know that.
Just the you want to build some muscle, man. Like,
hey man, you want to build some muscle? I don't know how the rest goes.
That's fine. We'll compare the two. We'll let everyone vote.
I don't know what I'm doing. Brian, is there anything that you'd like to post to us or the Fitocracy crowd? We want to be sure to give you like this forum to say your piece also.
Yeah, I mean, first off, BT and Blackjack, thanks so much for the opportunity. It's really been an honor, honestly. So thank you for inviting me. And I don't know, to everyone listening, especially if you're a Fitocracy user, just thank you for making Fitocracy what it is. I know that we're not always going to do everything that you want us to do. We're not always going to please you every time, but we do this for you, and we're working our butts off to make Fitocracy into the most meaningful place and product for fitness possible. And that's our true north, honestly. Like everything that we do is so that we can help you guys. So thank you for bearing with us. You guys are our life's blood. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the support, and hopefully we can continue on this crazy ride together for as long as it can take us.
BT, you want to say anything?
I definitely appreciate taking the time out of your busy schedule to jump on with us. I mean, I know this we're just small time having fun and enjoying, grabbing all you guys on, and it's definitely a big honor to have the guys that we spend a lot of time on the site and we love it, and seeing like kind of where y'all come from the startup to it to seeing where it is today. It's definitely exciting for us, or definitely for myself, and yeah, just keep the hard work, man. Like, yeah, keep pushing through any bullcrap you're running into, and don't let it bring you down, because you guys are doing a great thing. So
thank you. I really appreciate it, and you're in New York anytime, let me know, and we'll hang, and it'll be a good time.
Hang with Wang. Awesome. Like, just the final point to just like pour more on top of all that, Brian. Thank you so much for your time for this. It's been awesome being able to talk to you like this, because like a lot of people notice, you are maybe the quote unquote least heard from, but you are like, all that time's being poured into work. I know before, like even emailing you, the big thing that I remember seeing was a couple months back when I was still out in Japan, I saw you make a tweet about your dad. And not to get too deep into that on the podcast, but I did see a couple blog posts that you made about that stuff. You got to be proud of everything that you've done so far, man. And talking with you, I'm glad that you've got that drive to keep pushing through it. So major props to you, dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's not not everyone's afforded the opportunity to really work on what they love and try to make a difference. So. It's important not to squander that. You have to, it's, I feel like it's a privilege and an obligation. And so I'm trying my best to do what I can.
Well, I guess that is
McFried chicken. Whew, almost forgot that.